Hey everyone, this is George Soto and you're watching Startups Unedited. Hey everyone, this is George Soto and you're watching Startups Unedited. Today I am joined by Karina Costa, who is part of, wow, I mean, you've done so many fantastic things, Karina. You're doing so many great things at TechStars now. You know, you work with TechStars now in two different places, which is fantastic. What's your professional background and, you know, how'd you actually get into entrepreneurship and startups?
Sure, and thanks for having me. So I got into entrepreneurship and helping startups a little bit by accident. It was actually through my own company that I launched when I was 22. It ended up failing almost 3 years later, and I found myself hanging out with entrepreneurs. This was back in Lisbon. The ecosystem in Portugal was really undeveloped, actually inexistent at the time. I think I like yeah, I actually won the first startup weekend that ever happened in Portugal. We almost never didn't have an incubator. Didn't have accelerators. So the ecosystem was really in the first, giving its first steps. Uh, so I ended up finding myself hanging out with entrepreneurs, trying to kind of, be with like-minded people, and at the same time trying to help other founders not doing the same mistakes. So I co-founded a entrepreneurship club out of my business school called BET, Bring Entrepreneurs Together. In that group, we were lucky to be able to fundraise enough money to take some startups that were just starting in Lisbon to Silicon Valley. We launched a lot of events, and we tried actually to build resources to around the club to help them. Um, as I look on the hindsight today, we actually helped the company. With the first company we helped has now raised 30 million, and they're employing over 200 people in Lisbon. But
That's
5 years ago,
Congratulations, by the way. That's really awesome. 30 million
yeah,
card anywhere.
30 million in capital base in Lisbon is something kind of phenomenal and unique. But it took a while until the ecosystem was able to put all the pieces together to to help them grow. And after that, I was invited to join the um, two other co-founders and venture capitalists to co-found the first accelerator in Lisbon called Fábrica de Startups. It means startup factory. And that's when I got more involved, deeply working with startups and investors. We helped over 200 companies over the course of 4 years. We launched accelerators in different verticals like clean tech, tourism, and ended up launching an incubator as well to kind of extend some of the support that we could give to startups once they have graduated. And that became really something kind of really cool and meaningful that we were able to deliver and hand it over to the community. And that's
That's awesome.
met Techstars after an event for Techstars Boston that we hosted in Lisbon. That's how I got introduced to Techstars and kind of joined the team here in Boulder.
That's fantastic. You know, you've been to a variety of different, you know, startup ecosystems outside of this country, specifically, you know, Lisbon. Um, you know, what are some of the nuances, whether they're cultural, whether they're technical? You know, have you identified any cultural nuances that are specific to, like, let's say, Lisbon versus now, you know, Boulder?
Yeah, sure, and like other places as well. I remember we did an accelerator with Chinese startups, and we launched two accelerators in Brazil, and those ecosystems are all different. And even in the United States, Boulder is different than Silicon Valley. It's so much different from New York or from Boston, and in different levels like verticals, stage, so density of the ecosystem. So in many levels, the ecosystems are different. And I guess the way kind of I look at it, and the personalities of founders are going to be difficult. Those are, dramatic cultural differences. But the way that we at Techstars look at it is we are I mean, we believe that great entrepreneurs are, can be in any part of the world, and we are really challenged by the opportunity to, deliver the best resources and opportunities to entrepreneurs no matter where they are. And that's part of the vision of TechStars, and how much you see our programs growing outside a place like Boulder or a place like New York, right, where we are kind of expanding with the startup programs and with the accelerators as well, to places that are not yet so mature in terms of the ecosystem. The reason for that is exactly because those places need a momentum and a help from an ecosystem like the one we have at TechStars.
Now, if you're a founder, a startup founder who's looking to get into an incubator or accelerator or a program like TechStars, for example, what are some tips that you would give that founder? You would give me, that founder, about at least creating an application that will stand out above all the noise and all the great applicants that are already going to be submitting their applications.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely things that could put a certain founder in a better position to make it into the program. The application should be as complete as possible, include a video, give as much detail, but being short enough to be able to convey the message about the founders, in the stage of the business and the interest within that business. In the end of the day, I mean, TechStars, we make the decisions based on the founding team. Selection criteria is team, product, market, and ideas. So it's really around the team. So being able to explain why you're doing this business, where you're born to build this. Is this like the reason why you exist almost? Because if it's not, it's great, but it's gonna it's gonna be so hard to build a business that we as very early stage investors want to kind of be able to see that the founding team is really the right one for the idea and not the other way around. Another thing in that way, like a little bit aside from the application itself, try to get to know someone at the network of TechStars, right? Same thing as to apply to Harvard Business School without knowing anyone, without knowing any alumni that have gone through the program, without knowing any professor, without knowing anyone involved. It's going to be kind of hard to first, whoever's on the selection committed, to be able to understand why is it that you want to be a part of it. It shouldn't be the brand and credibility of it. It should be something else. So trying to get to know people, and TechStars has a huge network of with the community, startup programs, startup weekend, startup week, startup next, and all the accelerators in so many cities. Trying to get to know more about the program and more people within the community to kind of tell you more about it. Trying to get to know founders that have been through TechStars, and obviously if they agree to do so, have a recommendation for getting into the program.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karina. If folks want to follow you on Twitter, what's your Twitter handle? And are there any other social channels that you'd like folks to follow you on?
Yeah, Twitter is great. Facebook is great as well. But I work well with Twitter. Is KPMC. That's my Twitter handle.
Fantastic. Well, have a wonderful day. Muito obrigado.
Thank you.
I try to pick up some Portuguese throughout my travels. My dad actually can sing Portuguese or jazz music, Brazilian jazz music, which is obviously very close to the Portuguese in Portugal.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.